Hope you can hear me, and welcome. It's Saturday night, and here we are once again, walking through the safest city in the whole wide world, and that is, of course, sunny Glasgow. You catch me here at a funny moment because I'm slightly lost, and I don't know, hopefully I'll figure out where I am in a minute. But I suppose it gives people a chance to show up, you know. Where on earth are we? Ah, there we go. This looks familiar. Alright, so I apologise for my shaky hand. There's really not much I can do about that. Let me fix my umbrella. Hold on. It's all over the place. Anyway, we have a whole lot to talk about today. A whole lot as I fix this umbrella. Just give me a second. Or tonight even. I think that's it. Alright, let me straighten you up. We should be okay now. I have a big umbrella, you know, which doubles up as a last line of defence if the worst should happen. I'm going down the street with a bag here, and can you guess what's in the bag? That's right, folks, it's for what it's worth, it's a beautiful ThinkPad, and I think I've also got a spaghetti bolognese in there somewhere. I'm cooking tonight, you know. So that's the vibe, and we're going to be going by the best form of transport, which is this. Anyway, we have somebody join us here, and it's a hi to, I think it says Kai. It's either Kai or Carl, and I apologise. I should explain the phone here is kind of small. And the font size, it really looks to me like it's like 2 pixels or something. So it's sometimes a challenge for me to read comments. I'll try the very best I can though. Let me see, here's another. Oh gee, my eyes are just not having it. Just popping in. I can't read the name, but I can read the thing because it's in capital letters. Thank you, thank you. It says just popping in to show support. Working on something. I can't read. No, gee, I can't read it. Whatever you're working on, congratulations, and may the code be with you. I've actually just finished a huge coding marathon. If I told you the hours, I was working till 3 a.m. last night. Then I get up at 7 a.m. this morning, and I worked up until about 7:30 tonight. It's a whole lot of coding, but I was working on something that I'm quite excited about, and I haven't told anybody about it, and I don't know, maybe I should tell you, but I have this thing. I suppose we've all got a thing that we're working on, right? I'll tell you about it if you want. In fact, here's an idea. It's Keith. Always positive Keith. How are you doing, Keith? Thank you so much. That's the Keith that we know. And it's ahoy to you and hail Keith. Welcome to Glasgow. Welcome. Welcome indeed. I've arranged for them to switch the rain off, by the way. And on we go, on we go. So, this is going to be a good walk because today, I apologise for the shaky camera. It's not really about the visuals though, right? One of the nice things about these impromptu live streams is it gives us a chance to chat, you know, a chance to say hello, and for me, a chance to do so without being in front of a computer, which is nice, you know. So, let's see if we can do a little poll here. I'm going to do a little plus symbol. Okay. So we're going to say tonight's topic, and you get to choose the topic, right? So it's going to be wristwatch conspiracy. I have a new conspiracy. And the other option is going to be code talk. I have some code talk to offer. Now, can I do this poll? I don't know. It's not even got a submit button. Has that? I don't know if that's gone through. Anyway, if it has, you get to choose tonight's topic. I have invented a new conspiracy theory all to do with wristwatches, and it'll blow your mind. Look at this. Somebody's gyro's in. Anyway. Well, I'm surprised. Code talk. Jeez. You mean you don't want to hear about my incredible new highly controversial wristwatch theory? I ran it past Grok. See, who said we were poor in Glasgow? Check it out. That was just Jeeves, my butler. He's going home for the night. I thought I'd let him go home early. Anyway, you know, it's funny, I cannot get away from code. Anyway, we'll let that run a little bit longer, shall we? Maybe till the end of this street or something. You know, if this was Germany, I would be arrested. Oh, no. Oh, I won't go for too many macho points. And just to state the obvious, this is not one of those auditing videos, you know. I'm not into shoving cameras in people's faces. In fact, if all goes according to plan, I won't even see anybody here, you know. It's all about the conversation, right? And as far as the conversation goes, well, what a miserable and thoroughly unresponsive crowd. I'll give it just a wee minute or two more, and then we shall begin. Maybe till this sign here, you know. All right. Well, we're close enough. All right, well, for whatever reason, 1 million of you voted for the code thing. Thank you, you 1 million people. I don't know how to stop the darn poll. I do not know how to stop the poll, and it's right in front of me and it's bugging me. How do we stop it? I should never have done this. Let's see. Start a poll. Right. Can't I end a poll? I think I've had quite enough polls. Ah, gee. Right, hold on. If I can't get this, I'm out of here. Because I can't walk around with a poll thing in front of the camera. I can't see what's happening, you know? Oh, jeez, man. Right. Chat filter, community moderation. Geez, oh. Does anybody know how to close these polls? What an absolute crummy design. I'm clicking everywhere. What does that do? No, we're not going to do that. Oh, it's getting worse. Now I've got a rubbish effects thing that I don't want. Oh no. Let's see. Right, I have... Oh. End the poll. I think I've got it. Right, okay, we're off. Right, okay. The poll has gone. So, I'll tell you a wee bit about some coding shenanigans. And who knows, maybe we'll have a chance to talk about my incredible, highly shocking new wristwatch conspiracy theory as well. So, let's see. Alright, so as far as the framework goes, it's been an eventful past 24 hours and you are the first to hear about this. Some of you will know that I've been on this crusade to make the framework smaller, and it's now dramatically smaller, at least the engine directory is. And one of the things that people haven't quite figured out, because I've asked, is why the obsession? Why does it even matter? Why would you want to basically take a chainsaw to the framework and get rid of a whole bunch of stuff that works, you know? And everybody thinks it's got something to do with benchmarks, but it's not. I'm not really interested in, you know, toiling away to gain 0.002 of a second or whatever on a page load. I mean, I suppose it's bragging rights, but let's face it, nobody believes the benchmarks anyway. So I'm not going to worry about that, you know. So there's really two reasons why I've decided to take a chainsaw to everything and make it smaller. Launch date is January 6th, by the way. And the first reason is because I want to make it really easy for people to learn this stuff, you know. At the moment, there's some really great developers out there who have been involved with the Tron-Gate framework, and some of them have been coding for decades and they're super intelligent and accomplished and everything. I cannot touch the hem of their garments. But one of the things that I've learned is that people seem to be struggling with the concept of a module for everything. For example, over the last couple of months, I've had two different people say, hey, I've built an SQLite thing for Tron-Gate, you know? And on both occasions, whatever they've been doing, it's not a module, it's something else. By the way, that's my old shop. There it is. It used to be an antique shop, and I rented it out and I used to sell websites from there. Tiny wee shop, you know. But there it is. Anyway, yeah, so I received a very kind invite from somebody whom I respect to go and check out his GitHub repo, because he'd built some really cool database stuff for the framework, and I'm into it, and I know that, as I said, whatever the guy builds, it's going to be cool. But when I got there, pardon me if I'm out of breath, we're going up a pretty steep hill, by the way. But in any event, when I looked at this code, I couldn't really figure out where things went. And the one before that involved doing something with config, and it just seemed awkward, you know. So I kind of thought to myself, how can I mean, I don't want to enforce anything, code the way that you want to code, but how can I positively encourage people to just use standard modules. How can I make people realise that that thing you're working on is 1,000 times more easy than you realise? And the key to the whole thing is architecture. The architecture is everything. And if you get that right, you will be amazed at how productive you're going to be and how you can do a whole lot of stuff with hardly any code. It's all about the architecture, folks, you know? So, how do you send that message, but in a way that's positive and super cool? And I think I've got the answer. It came to me last night. And the answer is, you do exactly what the documentation says, but this time you really mean it. And what the documentation says is everything is a module. I'm going to be saying the word module a lot here. So, just so you know, a module is just a folder. That's all it is. Just a folder, you know. If you're building an invoicing system, maybe you'll have a module called invoices, which just means a folder, right? So a folder called invoices, or invoice singular. It doesn't really matter that much. So, I figured, what if we just made everything a module? Now, the Trongate framework has currently got 5 directories. This is V1 at least, you know. It's got config, engine, public, modules, and templates. I had to think about that. Now, that templates folder is actually a module. It's really just an ordinary Trongate module with a few bells and whistles. And if I had been building the framework in an architecturally pure manner, I would have put the templates folder or the templates module inside the modules directory. But I never did. I put it all out there on its own as this thing called templates. Now, why did I do that? I hear you say. Well, I kind of felt that when people look at this framework, the first thing they're going to ask is, where's all the HTML stuff? Where does that go? Where's my design? And so I figured, well, if I put a big old folder out there called templates, people will click in it, they'll see some HTML, and they'll feel good. And they'll say, aha! So that was the decision-making process when the framework was being built. It turned out to be a huge mistake, because what happened is I had this views functionality, so you can load view files. Then I had, of course, templates. But then when I started doing templates, I started adding on partials, which means loading a bit of a template. And then it went super crazy and we started adding themes. So a theme is like a template with an entourage, you know? Think HTML with CSS and JavaScript and icons and stuff, right? That would be a theme. So it all got a bit complicated. And before you knew it, there was a folder here, a folder there, a folder everywhere, and documentation that just confused the living daylights out of everybody. And so I thought to myself, what if we took all of that template stuff and just got rid of it? Get rid of templates, get rid of themes, get rid of the load thing, get rid of the template colon display thing. Get rid of all of that bullshit and just replace it with an ordinary module inside the modules directory. And how about if we call it templates? Now, wouldn't that be cool? Well, I did that. I built it yesterday and it works. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. So now I've reduced the size of the engine directory. Now the templates is where it belongs. And hallelujah, we can say goodbye to themes and partials and all of that other stuff that was just making things confusing, you know. So I felt good about that. And then late last night, this thought just popped into my head. I wonder what else we can do, you know. And suddenly I thought about the database handling stuff, which is inside the engine directory. And I figured, why not have that as a separate module? Why not? There's no reason why the framework should be tethered to MySQL or MariaDB. In fact, it's easy for me to visualize a framework that has a module for Firebase and a module for MongoDB and a module for Postgres and a module for SQLite and all of that stuff. So why not just do that, you know? And that was kind of a major job. But I kind of thought, well, surely that's not possible. And I stayed up till 3 a.m. and I did it. So now the engine's even smaller. And then I thought, well, what else can we do? And then I started looking at validation. That can be a module. The file handling stuff, that can be a module. Image. And before long, I had reduced the engine directory from about 5,500 lines of code to about 2,000 lines of code. About 2,000. This is absolutely shocking and dramatic. And in fact, it's going to be even, well, version 1 of Trongate, the engine directory is probably about 10,000 lines of code. I'm not sure. I'll estimate 10,000. We're going to be about a quarter of the size. And with that, sure, it's going to be a wee bit faster. But there's really two benefits. One is there's less stuff to learn. And the other is that if the framework becomes small enough, there's going to be a point where it's going to be really easy to train custom AI models on how to use the framework. I don't see how that's possible with a large framework that gets rewritten all the time, you know? I'm sort of on a crusade to conduct myself slightly more gracefully when it comes to other frameworks. I've done my time telling people about how much I don't like them. I mean, one of the leading PHP frameworks requires 28,000 lines of code before you can render a page that says hello. That's true. But I don't want to really attack those frameworks as such. Instead, I'd rather just show people what's possible if they just use what I'm calling native PHP, using the language the way that it's meant to be used. So instead of having 28,000 lines of code before you render hello, we can have less than 100 lines of code, you know? And in case you haven't figured it out, it's one of the reasons why the framework's so darn fast, you know? But like I say, it's not really about speed. It's about making things easy. And also the top secret thing is to make it so that this framework is loved by AI. In fact, you're going to be able to have a conversation with something like Claude or ChatGPT, upload the entire engine folder, and immediately the AI will say, I now understand the framework. What do you want to do? One prompt and the entire framework can be learned. This is something I'm pretty excited about, you know. Now, have I lost everyone? I should have spoken about my wristwatch conspiracy theory. Anyway, so that's just a little taste of what's coming up with Trongate V2. You're going to see a framework that's a whole lot more simple than anything out there. And it's probably going to shock people when they see, you know, they'll load it and go, oh, there's nothing here. But wait till you see how easy it is to work with this. All right, we have a comment. I'm really struggling to read. Forgive me, folks. Ahoy! Oh, it's Stefan. I recognise your icon. And we have greetings from Argentina. Is that Claudia by any chance? I can't see the names, folks. The font is so small. I know we've got Stefan in Germany. How are you doing, Stefan? Welcome. Welcome, all of you. And thank you for joining me. Now, the other one, I love it too. Is that Perkin? I recognise the icon. How are you doing, man? It's good to see you. Where have you been? And hail to Perkin. Hail to Stefan. Who else have we got here? Oh, gee. Oh, it's Cal. Is that what it says, Cal? I love what I'm hearing. Thank you, Cal. God bless you. Well, and the great Stefan here and our Argentina friend. I think it's Claudia. I'm so struggling to read it. Forgive me, folks. I can assure you, your fonts are less than 1 millimeter on this phone. I'm doing the best I can. Anyway, okay, I'll give you a wee bit more framework chat. So, my overall thoughts. Okay, I'll give you the kind of broad perspective as I see it, right? So let me be brutally honest. I actually think that Trongate was released 3 years too soon. When Trongate was released, everybody was in love with third-party dependency. We had this, we still have this huge package manager in PHP, which is basically an NPM copycat. Now, if you want to know how I feel about NPM, go watch the guy who invented it chatting about it. He's on YouTube, he's done seminars saying how he got it wrong and it has issues here, there and everywhere. Go to Google News and just search for NPM and see what comes up. I mean, it's horror stories, you know? And I always felt it was a mistake of the PHP community to just copy NPM, you know? I think that, well, I don't want to attack it too much. What it does from a technological perspective is impressive, but I just think that there's a place for something that's a wee bit more like the Apple App Store or something, do you know what I mean? Something that's curated, because most of what's on NPM is garbage, quite frankly. And I think there's a lot of stuff there that's malicious. In fact, I know there is. My friend Derek was talking to me today. He told me that he had an interview. He won't mind me telling you this. And I don't know if it was I assume it must have been online. And they said to him, can you install this NPM package? If you could just go ahead and install this repo, this is what you'll be working on, blah, 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 blah. And Derek is a very smart person. And he said, I don't know if I feel comfortable about that. And they said, well, we'll leave it with you. Just set that up and let us know when you've got it set up. Derek took the time to look through the code of this thing that he was being asked to install. And then he sent it up to a couple of AI bots for confirmation. And it turns out that this thing was looking for crypto wallets and then basically cloning them. So the whole job interview was a scam designed to steal people's crypto wallets. And that happened, I think it was last week. And it's just one example of the kind of things that can go wrong when you have what I'm calling third-party interversion dependency. It's a poor model. A much better model is single point of accountability. We've seen it on the Google Play Store. We've seen it on the Apple App Store. It works, it's tried and it's tested. And for anyone who's thinking, it's commercial, well, relax, you can have free stuff, you know. I'm just saying that the idea of uploading something and 200 people from who knows where modifying it, it's just not on, you know. So what was I going to say? When Trongate appeared, I was ranting on about this like a drunken sailor, and I spent a whole lot of time basically just ranting about all of the stuff that I don't like, you know. Things like rewrite culture, over-engineering, bureaucracy, paid framework certification. I mean, you do realise that the moment a framework maker charges for certification, they have now given themselves an incentive to break the framework constantly, right? I mean, I'm stating the obvious. I spent a whole lot of time going on about this, and in the process, I'm pretty sure I made myself unemployable. It was a message that nobody wanted at that time, actually. But you know something, folks? The times have changed. Even with this live stream, and I know that there's only, I don't know how many people are watching, 12 or something. If I leave this live stream up, I probably won't, but if I do, tomorrow I'll come on and we're gonna have GitHub stars, you know? And I've noticed this thing, it's like when I talk about the framework, people check it out and they seem to like it. And I think the framework's a pile of garbage right now. The documentation's unfinished and like, please don't use the framework, you know? Wait until V2 comes. But nevertheless, people are finally starting to realise that it's kind of indefensible to have 28,000 lines of code before you get a screen that says hello. And some of you think I'm exaggerating. That's not an exaggeration, folks. The amount of stuff that gets loaded. I mean, have any of you ever looked at the code for PSR4 auto-loading? I'm going to show you it. It's massive. And you would be astonished at all of the things that have become normalised in the PHP community. And so what we're doing is showing people an alternative way that takes people back to core technologies. Core technologies means native PHP. This is my phrase. If Laravel's word is going to be elegant, Trongate's word is going to be native. We are using native PHP, right? And I want to take people back to the core technologies like PHP and MySQL and all of that stuff, you know? And I've actually got a funny feeling that, you know, I promised over and over I'm never going to do a V2. But, well, here we are. And it's coming up in January. And I tell you what, folks, it feels different this time. Because the last time that I launched a framework, I spent a whole lot of energy telling people about all the stuff that I don't like. This time's different. This time, we, and I stress the we've got 25 people have contributed to this framework. We, this time, instead of ranting about all of the stuff that we don't like, we are going to show people the stuff that we do like. It's a whole different energy. I've spent so long working on the docs, you haven't seen them. The documentation is beautiful. It'll make you weep when you see how beautiful these docs are. And just the other day I went through the docs and I was searching for all of the other frameworks and just deleting them. It's like, I'm not going to do any comparisons. I'm not going to say, hey, this is faster than that. I'm not going to say, look at how slow this framework is. I am done focusing on the negative. Instead, I'm just going to say to people, here's how you build stuff with this. Have a nice day. And I think that people are intelligent enough to get this. I think people are going to figure it out for themselves and they're going to say, holy moly, is it this easy? And if I can show people, yes, you can have any feature known to humanity as a simple module. There is nothing to learn. I can show you how to load modules. It's 2 lines of code, you know. You do it that way from a controller and that way from a view. That's it. There is nothing to learn. And if people get that, I think they're going to be into it. So I really, really have a lot of confidence and excitement about this framework. But even if people don't get it, then I don't care. I'm going to use the darn thing anyway, and I'm going to build some cool stuff with it, you know. So how are we doing in the comments? Oh gee, it's not Mark Knopfler. How you doing, man? I can recognise that name. Let me have a wee look. The way we wrote code in the 90s was much better than we do it now. These days, we employ a team at Little Hearts, thank you, of 50 people in developing a website. 50, I can't read it, something people write 50 times at the code of one person. Forgive me, my friend, do forgive me. Your font, I tell you what, we'll meet up and I'll show you my phone and you'll be like, wow. The font is so small. If it was any smaller, we'd have to contact NASA and declare that we are very close to splitting the atom. Anyway, thank you so much. That was not Mark Knopfler. Actually, his name is Mark, you know, and he plays the guitar and he plays without a plectrum. And we're very grateful to have you here. How are you doing, man? Welcome, welcome all of you. And where else would you rather be on a Saturday night? Hello, my wee friend. Hello, you. All right. So, I think it's time for a good old watch conspiracy theory to wrap up the evening. What do you say, folks? Do you like a conspiracy theory? I have a new one for you. I guarantee you've not heard it before. And I ran it past Grok. I authenticated the data, and Grok has, well, actually, let's be honest, they do have a wee bit of confirmation bias, these AI engines, right? But for what it's worth, Grok says I might be onto something, and the data does support the claim. So, are you all ready for a little Saturday night conspiracy theory? Can somebody please give me an eye? I don't want to feel like I'm walking down here on my talking to myself. I can read an eye, surely. Oh, gee, I'm all out of breath. Thank you. I think I can read that. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's not Mark Knopfler and the great Stefan, pillar of the community. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, so let me give you my conspiracy theory. It's all to do with wristwatches. And by the way, today I'm wearing a fabulous, what am I wearing? one of these. Anyway, who cares? On to the theory. Now, the other day in the private members area, I was talking about how I had this eureka moment, and it happened on YouTube, funnily enough. I was getting all of these videos on my feed with all of these guys who looked like they were sometimes in their 30s or something, and they were talking about how messed up everything is, and they were actually having a go at Donald Trump and how he's terrible and he's going out and, you know, he's ruined everything. Now, some of you love Trump, some of you hate Trump. God bless you and your opinion. We're not going to go political tonight. That's not the point here. What I noticed suddenly is that everybody who was on was completely deballed, you know? They were the most feminized characters ever. And you've probably heard the phrase soy boy, right? A soy boy. About 8 years ago, studies came out saying that soy products boosted estrogen. And it turns out that there has been an epidemic of men who have testosterone problems. Like, you know, I mean, some of you say, well, who cares about testosterone? Listen, if you want to have more energy, more focus, more motivation, and of course a few other benefits, this is stuff that you should care about. Believe me, I'll spare you the speech. The science is out there. And it turns out that since the 1980s, male testosterone levels have gone through the floor. In fact, they've dropped at a rate of 1% per year since the 1980s. And we're now at the stage where a guy who is in his 30s today, on average, has got less testosterone than a guy in his 80s pre-1980. And don't fact check me on that, I am in the middle of nowhere, but you get the idea. So, hold on, I've pressed the button by accident. Alright, we're still here. So, testosterone levels have gone through the floor, and we have an entire society full of these feminized men. You've seen them. Oh, well, I don't know. I think it's at the discretion of the party. Right? Total feminized men, and they're everywhere. And by the way, don't let me come on and pretend to be John Rambo. I think this is something that has affected all of us, even me, you know. And by that I mean I've had moments where I've had fat, for example, that I have difficulty shifting, or problems with things like decisiveness. Have you ever, for example, I mean, this stuff manifests itself in the strangest way. Have you ever uploaded something or a comment maybe you've posted somewhere, maybe even here or on X, and you upload it and you say, that's fantastic, and then a minute or two later, sometimes even a day or two later, you go back and you say, oh, I better not do that, I better delete that, oh no, can't say that. That, my friend, is feminine energy. And let's be honest, we all do it. We all do these things. And we shouldn't feel guilty about it, and we shouldn't assume an arrogant or macho or hostile demeanour when talking about these subjects. The fact of the matter is, since the 1980s, microplastics have got into the food chain. You cannot avoid them. Your body is full of plastic. And not only that, but the water supply is also full of estrogen. I've spoken about this in the past. I'm not going to go into it in too much detail. But believe me when I tell you, if you are drinking water or eating food, unless it's distilled carbon filtered water, you are consuming vast quantities of toxic product, and it's messing with your whole system. Your estrogen levels are high, your testosterone levels are low, and the result is that you just become this kind of lethargic, depressed, panicked shadow of who you should be. Now, there is nothing I've said so far that is original. And quite frankly, all of this information has been out for a long time. And you're probably wondering what this has got to do with wristwatches. Well, if you are a wristwatch enthusiast, and by the way, I've got about 60 of them in the house. I have some that I have to sell, but nevertheless, I have a lot of wristwatches. If you are a wristwatch enthusiast, maybe you want to turn off, because I'm about to ruin the whole hobby. I'm about to annihilate the whole scene. So fasten your seatbelts. Here comes the theory. When you watch YouTube channels with guys talking about wristwatches, some of you have made the observation that there's a lot of guys who have low self-esteem and who think that they can make up for that by flaunting an expensive wristwatch. We've seen that all the time, right? We recognise that, we know it, and that's no big deal. But my friends, there's something going on that's a whole lot darker than that. Nobody is talking about this. I claim ownership of this theory. Because when you look at all of these watch channels, a couple of things you notice, right? A whole lot of them, I mean, it's guys, as far as I can tell, right? Guys like watches. But what you will find, and go look at any wristwatch review of your choosing, I don't care, and you're gonna find these grown men talking about polished chamfers. You've probably never heard the word chamfers in your life until you get into wristwatches, and they are swooning with delight at the 26 jewels, at the tourbillons, and oh, how wonderful it is that this watch was made with white gold and not stainless steel. And you see grown men really gushing over these little details, and a lot of the time these details are literally well, I'm not going to say microscopic to the human eye, but irrelevant, right? And I watched one today. I will not name the guy. I wish the guy well, and he's not here to defend himself. But it was a guy talking about, I won't even mention the watch, a new watch, let's just say. And he's out there talking about this watch, and he's speaking like this, folks. Oh, I love it. I love it. And he's rolling his L's. And he's talking about, oh, this one's got a sapphire crystal. It's got a anti-reflective coating. If you look at the crown, they've actually got it jutting out by 1 millimetre more. Oh, it was such a bold gesture. Oh, look at this. They're jutting it out by 1 millimetre, everybody. Isn't it amazing? Oh, right. And just to state the obvious, no guys are talking about earrings in this manner. If they did, they'd get some funny looks. They're not talking about pearl necklaces. They're not talking about face cream. They're talking about watches, wristwatches. And for reasons which until now have never been discussed. grown men have a pass, don't they? For some reason, wristwatches are the one area in life, the only area, where grown men give themselves permission to act like a bunch of poncy hairdressers. Isn't that interesting? And why is that? What's really going on when a grown man is suddenly gushing over his polished chamfers and how the middle links are shiny but the outer links are brushed? Oh, and the brushing's so nice you can hardly even see it unless you look closely. What exactly is going on here? Well, I looked at the watch sales. I had a look at the numbers. And since the massive plummeting of testosterone levels, since the rivers became polluted, microplastics everywhere, since that happened, you can actually plot a graph of luxury watch sales and drops in testosterone levels. And what you end up with is the Scotland flag. It's mind-blowing. And the funny thing is, you would think that the creation of smartphones and all of that would have changed it. But nay, luxury watch sales have gone up 5 times since the testosterone levels fell off a cliff in the 1980s. The invention of the smartphone changed nothing. Guys, and I have to say, including me, have been going crazy for wristwatches. And it's this one area where we all allow ourselves to become these super feminized soy boys, babbling away about the cabochons and all of that crap. So what's going on? Well, I'm going to lay it on you quite brutally. Wristwatches are the vehicle by which grown men can express their femininity in a manner that is palatable by the rest of society. I almost got that right. That's what's going on. You show me a guy gushing over the cabochons. I don't even know how to pronounce these darn words. You show me a guy doing that shit, and I will show you a soy boy. I will show you somebody who has issues with testosterone. Somebody who has probably, well, I don't want to start acting all too macho. Let's just actually not end the sentence. Because the truth of the matter is, I think this has affected pretty much everybody. And I count myself among it. I mean, it was kind of strange. But it was about 2 years ago. Out of nowhere. I woke up and suddenly I just had this obsession with wristwatches. And it got to the stage I was just watching wristwatch videos constantly. I think I even bought 1 or 2 books. And it was like, why the hell am I suddenly into wristwatches? And so, as I started to look at the data, yes, that's right, we are very academic here. I started to look at the data and I started to look at all of these issues, particularly pertaining to the whole masculinity, femininity thing. It occurred to me that we're living in this hyper-feminized society, a society where masculinity has been attacked, not only on the social media platforms and all of that stuff, but actually with things that have happened in the food chain. And it's a really, really serious problem. And if you've got the problem, I don't think that you should actually be ashamed or embarrassed. It's not your fault that your body's full of microplastics. It's not your fault that the river's full of literal estrogen, actually. I could talk about how it gets there. It'll put you off your next dinner, though. But let's just say women have a lot to answer for. And I've become really aware of this type of thing recently. Now, don't get me wrong. I still like watches, but with a different energy. You know, I'm not going around and thinking, oh, well, I wonder if I can get one with a fluted bezel. I'm off that wavelength, you know. And I could talk about this for hours. I've got so much to say on this topic. The hilarious thing is that in the watch world, the poster boy is James Bond, you know. People who like watches, wristwatches, they seem to like James Bond. And I have yet to meet a watch enthusiast who has the same vibrational level as James Bond. I mean, again, I don't want to attack anyone who's not here to defend themselves, but you do realise there are people that run James Bond websites and all sorts of things, and really, really obsessed fans, and they'll have the exact same watch and everything that James Bond had, you know. And they've gone to the ends of the earth for this thing, and you see them, and it's like, this dude is more like Miss Moneypenny than James Bond, you know. What is going on here? And you think about James Bond, the character. I know that he was a fictitious character, but even in that fictitious universe, there is no way that a guy like James Bond was going around like a Ponzi hairdresser and saying, oh, I like the rose gold, it suits paler skin much better. No, he was probably saying, okay, that looks like it'd be a good knuckle duster. I'll take the Rolex. What kind is it? A submarine? A submarine? Okay, I'll take that one. That's what James Bond would have done. Not this pouncing about like some kind of a pansy, you know? So, that's the theory. Now you've heard it, and now you know. So, for those of us, and I know that there's one or two, for those of us who like wristwatches, how do we get out of this situation? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, right? The first thing is, it has to start with diet, right? This is probably the source of these issues, and if we're going to fix this, it's going to probably start with diet. So I'm taking everything that has that feminine vibrational energy out of the diet, all of it. And you don't need me to read the nutritional statistics pertaining to any certain food group. You already know this information instinctively because, well, spoiler alert, but you're actually a genius. And the truth of the matter is that you can already figure this stuff out. You can feel it. You have instinct. I'll prove it. I'll prove it right now. So, if I was to say to you, and this is actually true, if I was to say to you, I woke up this morning, I had a black coffee with distilled water, by the way. I had a black coffee and I had no sugar, I had no milk. As a matter of fact, I had nothing to eat at all. Just a black coffee, and I was out there, out of the starting blocks working. Now, send me your vibrational energy. I want to ask a question. Having a black coffee, no sugar, no milk, no nothing. Does that have a masculine vibrational energy or a feminine vibrational energy? Touch the screen, you be the judge. Now we'll take it the other way. Imagine if I said to you, okay, I had an interesting day. I headed to Starbucks and I got a chai soy latte. Not a black coffee anymore. I got a chai soy latte, and I got a dollop of cream on top of it in a pyramid shape, of course. A sort of swirling pyramid shape with marshmallows on this thing all coming up, you know. And that's how I started my day. Folks, does that sound like a masculine? Well, you know the answer. It's a feminine energy, right? I don't even need you to touch the screen. So you can actually, and this is what I'm doing personally. Yes, you came here to hear about code and you walked away with a self-help lesson. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at everything. I mean, not just diet. I mean, decisions, everything, you know. Even what I'm doing now. I'm walking to my Lady Wonder wench. I have a bag here with, you know, a nice meal, hopefully. And I could have easily got a taxi or anything. She's saying, you want me to pick you up? I'm like, no, I'm going to walk, you know. I am going to walk. And again, I don't want to be the guy who's saying, hey, everybody live your life after me. But you can't tell me that that's not a masculine vibrational energy. And again, I'm not interested in teaching people how to you know, attract people on the dance floor under the neon lights. I couldn't talk to you about that type of stuff. So don't be fooled by thinking that this masculine feminine thing is some crude conversation. I'm actually trying to have a serious conversation about health, you know, because this stuff really matters. This stuff is what is going to get you getting out of your bed in the morning and doing things and being productive and happy, you know, instead of just depressed and feeling sorry for yourself, you know. This is the stuff that makes the difference. So I should start telling you what I'm doing bit by bit. So one of the things is, it's really, food is a massive topic. I should start telling you what I had for lunch and stuff. So, you know what I had for lunch today? I had liver. I had fried lamb's liver with one onion. And that was it. This is the kind of thing that I think is called for. Because, my friends, there's a whole lot of damage that has been done. No need to feel ashamed. Once again, it's not your fault that the water's polluted, that there's microplastics everywhere. It's even in the fish and everything. None of that's your fault. But the fight back starts today. As you know, I've got a distilled water machine and I highly recommend that. I'm also moving away from soft drinks. And again, use your genius. Tell me, which of these has got the feminine energy? Is it to drink a glass of water or to drink a diet cherry Coca-Cola? Which of those two has got the feminine energy? It's the second one, right? So move away from it at every opportunity. And as for watches, well, I still love watches. I see wristwatches as being the modern day equivalent of a lightsaber. You can use a wristwatch for good, actually. I've had certain types of wristwatch that I put it on and it can literally make me feel happy or productive or nostalgic, or I could give you a gazillion other things here. And I think that you can use watches like that, you know. I met the Count of Monte Cristo a few weeks ago in Manchester, and he showed me a watch. He likes watches, and he had this beautiful Longines watch. It was a GMT, I think it was a Zulu. And as I looked at it, I thought, that's actually a good watch for getting stuff done, you know? And so I think that when you're on that vibrational frequency, as opposed to Ponce hairdresser babbling on about cabochons or whatever they're called, then I think that you can have a positive experience. But also, I think that for me personally, I mean, I reserve the right to change my mind, but I'm moving away from things like little square dress watches and stuff like that, you know. All of that feminized stuff, I'm not into it anymore, you know. So that's my vibe with wristwatches, and that is the conspiracy theory. There you have it. How did I do, folks? Did I keep you entertained? Did I not have some original ideas? Did I not have one or two things that are maybe a little bit thought-provoking? What do you think? Well, I'll tell you what, Starsky. I'm going to stay here for another 2 minutes. And if I haven't got another 2 likes, I'm going to delete this video. And I'll probably never do this again. But if you can handle what I'm saying, let me know. Because one thing's for sure, I'm not getting much help off YouTube. Giving up on that. But if somebody out there can handle these words, if you enjoy the information that you're not hearing anywhere else, that's right, I'm going full Kevin Trudeau here. It's the information they don't want you to know about. Well, I'm going to the end of this road here, and if I haven't got those reactions, I'll just delete the damn thing. I don't care. No regrets, no sob story, it's fine, I'm okay. Don't worry about it. So there you go. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of you for passing by. Let me see how we're doing. Oh, I think I got my target. Thank you. Mark here says, makes sense to me. Well, thanks, man. That's super interesting. And I hope that maybe next week in the private live stream, maybe we can discuss these things a little bit more, you know. It is an interesting topic, and it's funny how, like, there's a lot of programmers who seem to drift into my universe for some reason, right? And us programmer types, I don't like the word developer, programmer, right? Us programmers, we know all about variables, and we see the world in terms of variables, you know? And I think that developers are really good, or programmers, they're really good at identifying the variables that affect change. This is why if a web developer gets into SEO, I mean, look, developers, if you want to get rich, get into search engine optimization. You will rule. The minute you take a programmer or a developer into a field like SEO, in 2 minutes, they figure out all of the variables that make those sites go page 1 on Google. It's like a superpower that we have. And one of the things that I've been interested in, and I know that some of you have, is figuring out the variables that affect change in your life. What are the variables that make a person feel happy, or that make a person productive, or just make them feel like there's a reason for getting up in the morning? What is it? Now, for a long time, I thought the variables were something to do with honesty, integrity, and hard work. Don't get me wrong, those things are ethical and admirable, and they have value. But we all know plenty of hard-working, super ethical people who are completely miserable and constantly being you know, ripped off actually, or taken advantage of, you know. So as much as that's good, I don't think it's the variable that affects change. And in this day and age, given all of the circumstances that we're dealing with, I honestly believe that for guys, this is the variable that you should be interested in. It has now been identified. It's masculinity, femininity. If you prefer, you can call it yin yang, and let's go all mystical. I don't care what you call it, but that is the variable. And I'm going to leave you with a little challenge. The challenge is, have a look at the YouTubes. Have a look at the people, especially, and I'm going to say it, especially on the leftist channels. Have a look at the type of people who are presenting on these leftist woke shows. Look at the guys and ask yourself, is this guy giving out masculine energy or feminine? I watched a talk show host, I think his name's Steve Colbert. Have you seen him? He's a talk show host in America. You look at that guy, go look him up right now, and I'm telling you, that guy has the vibrational energy of an old lady. He's an old lady going through the inconvenience of being manifested in the male form. And we wonder why we're all so fucked up. This is the variable that affects change. So, for all of you who are feeling down, and as the year comes to an end and you're saying, man, I get jack shit done. Ah, no, another year down the drain. Well, you take it from me, you've been looking at the wrong variables. You've been looking at bullshit. The real problem is the feminization of men. And I'm not coming with an energy of arrogance. I think it's happened to me. I felt it. And it's not your fault or my fault. We're dealing with serious problems to do with the food chain, not to mention all of the social pressures and the attack on the idea of masculinity and all of that stuff. And we have to identify these problems and then address them. My suggestion is to start with what you're putting into your body. Start with food and get rid of all of the crap. Get rid of all the feminized crap. Stop eating chocolate. Stop taking big marshmallow cream crap when you have a coffee or something. Do you know what I mean? Change that. And I have a funny feeling, just a funny feeling, that things might just start to get better. You're going to wake up and suddenly you're going to feel a little bit more energized. Sure, you'll stick on the news and you'll say, oh man, we're going back to the dark ages again. I can't fix that. But you're going to say, well, you know what? Maybe we are heading back into the dark ages, but I'm going to make the most of the hand I have been dealt. That's the energy. And who would have thought you'd end up here, hearing these life-changing words of wisdom. I'll leave you with a view of the Empire State Building here. Thank you so much for passing by, everybody. I'm really struggling to read the things. I don't know if I can. It's so small. Even, oh gee, I can't read it. Even programming podcasts are hosted by a bunch of communist soy boys. Yes, they'd rather talk about trans. Well, what can I tell you? We now found out his real name, or at least what it should be, and that is Naylor McNailed, because you nailed it. You nailed it. And it's nice. It's nice to know that we've at least figured this stuff out, right? So enjoy your red meat, gentlemen, men of culture. We meet again. Well, maybe not actually, but enjoy your red meat. Enjoy the experience of being a positive, masculine male. It's hard to say that without sounding like a gay man, I must admit. I'm trying my best though, I'm trying my best. Alright, I'm done with you. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the comments. Hail to everybody in the room once again. Bless you all, especially those who commented. And I'll see you very soon, okay? Thank you. Cheerio now. Bye. All right.